a conversation with me, with each other.
Let's go with it.
We're just gonna go with it, and if y'all decide that y'all don't want to say something, say what you wanted to say, because we'll edit everything later.
I'm a good listener.
Just cut everything out.
Lots of practice, huh? And is it affecting the footage if they're looking at me over here?
Not at all.
Okay. We ready?
Well, that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're not supposed to be looking at them.
Exactly.
You know that, don't you?
And if you could speak up a little bit, because we're going to use this microphone here.
Okay.
Thank you.
They're so cooperative. They're the best ever.
All right. So my first question is, if you could talk about some of your best memories as young boys growing up in Dice.
Well, there was so many. Dice was so full of kids on a Saturday afternoon, going to the movies and pop shop. We just had a great time. There were so many kids. It was just fun. It really was.
I really enjoyed when we went swimming, or we would walk all the way over to Lepanto to see a movie, or sometimes we would go to Wilson to see a movie. We visited each other in the homes. My house, we used to ride the horse, go all over the country like that, and just normal things that kids do.
Okay. Ready. So talk about some of your memories growing up in Dice.
Well, some of the greatest memories we had, I know, was the movie. Because it was there early, from the time I was 6 years old. I don't know exactly what year it was there. But we enjoyed Saturday afternoon. Everyone took off from work on Saturday afternoon and came to town. So we just enjoyed coming to town. And the kids that were here, they were great kids. And there was really no fights to speak of Dice at all. And but we enjoyed the pop shop, the theater, all the westerns. We seen about all. And so, what do you remember, AJ?
I like the movies also, and if we could get a quarter, we could go to the movie for 15 cents and a nickel for a bag of peanuts and a big RC, and we would sit there and watch the movie. That was a lot of enjoyment then.
Yeah. We would walk. Everywhere we went, we had to walk until AJ and I think about 16, or his dad bought an 8-in Ford tractor. We went all over the country on that 8-in Ford tractor. Usually 4 of us. Paulie's, AJ, me, and JR. And we just enjoyed it.
That was really good to have something to ride on.
For a
were
change.
hanging all over that tractor.
For a change.
We drove that to Lepanto or something when we got that too.
All the time. All the time. But it was just an enjoyable time.
I used to ride a mule to Dice here, and we'd tied up out in the trees there or over here, and then go to the movie, and the mule would still be there when we got back.
We spent a lot of time at my house because I lived the closest. So we'd spend our days up to 11, 12 o'clock. We'd go to my house and sleep. And sometimes 4 of us on the bed. 2 of us in the middle, the 2 on the outside had to hold on the bed with their hands. So it was just a regular bed. At that time, they didn't have anything as a queen-size bed. So we'd go to AJ's house. AJ's mother and my mother were really kid-friendly. They loved kids. And JR's mother, she was a little bit strict. So we spent less time at JR's than we did at our house. But he was with us at all times at AJ's or at my house. And we just enjoyed life. We really did. We got into no trouble. And the 3 of us boys, AJ, JR, and me, when one of us mentioned doing anything, there was no arguments. We all just did it. We never had an argument. In all the years that we grew up together, never had an argument. Now that's unusual.
When we would go to JR's house and we'd get a little noisy, Miss Cash would say, "Boys, quiet." Talk about getting quiet. We got quiet.
But Mrs. Henson and my mother love kids. And I don't care how many kids I brought home, and I have brought home 6 and 7. and she never said a word. And breakfast was always the same. You know, she fed them all. And I think AJ learned to eat cocoa at my house. And his mother called mine and found out how to make cocoa because he wanted cocoa at his house too.
He's talking about cocoa gravy.
Cocoa, chocolate gravy. And
Sopping gravy.
It's good. I still eat it once in a while. And my sister serves it in her restaurant now. And it's good.
Mother always made donuts, and everybody really enjoyed those.
The restaurant over here with Ma Woods, and we spent a lot of time at Ma Woods' house.
Okay, here. Hold on. Are you getting the sign at all? The yellow sign behind you?
A little bit.
Okay.
No sound?
Can y'all sit closer together and maybe just scoot
Oh.
up?
He'll get the wrong impression.
Yeah, we wasn't this close when we was young, except we were sleeping in the same bed. I've started to call.
Well, y'all don't have to sit close. Maybe if y'all just scoot over, like if maybe you scoot over a little
That
bit.
yellow sign is the problem.
Oh,
It's right in the middle, so that's what we're trying
okay.
to camouflage.
AJ can block that.
All right, that's okay. And don't forget to just keep looking at me. Don't look at Corey.
Okay, we'll scoot over a little closer to
Okay.
that.
Yes, sir.
There you go. Yeah, you're just perfect.
Okay, beautiful.
You're perfect.
Are we good still? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So.
And,
Wait,
and
let me-
My Woods' Cafe across the street was a good hangout for kids. And she really loved kids too. But she also liked hamburgers. We spent a lot of time playing the jukebox at a nickel a record and 6 for a quarter. And anyhow, we enjoyed it. And so we had a pinball machine, we played a lot, and played the jukebox, and just hung around. It was a great place.
We didn't have a lot of money to spend over there. It's a wonder she hadn't kicked us out, because we did more sitting than we did spending.
Well, that was the case at every place we went. And we were we usually got $1 a week apiece to do everything we had to do. That's for Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, and Sunday. And we did good. And we didn't know we was poor, you know. We was, but we didn't know it. But we had plenty to eat. And that's really what counted. And clothes to wear, shoes to wear in the wintertime. And so it was a great time of life.
A lot of beans, biscuits, and gravy, though.
A lot of biscuits.
And I like that. Still do.
We raised all of our own vegetables and canned them, and I helped can. And we raised all of our meat. Our hogs, we'd kill them in the fall and hang them and cure them, sugar cure them, and salt cure them, and it'd last all year. So, and cold pack some of it. And
That's-
some of the vegetables we'd cold pack and last all year.
That's
500-600
memories.
quarts.
Back on the farm when we were killing the hogs, and we would dip them in hot water and then scrape them with a knife to get the hair off of them. Then we'd hang them up and take their entrails out.
And then lay them down and cut them up.
That was the only time we cut fresh meat, though, was hog killing time in the fall.
Right.
We would eat parts that you couldn't cure, like the liver and parts like that you couldn't cure. Just all the parts that you couldn't put salt on.
And that
keep.
fresh sausage was so good.
Oh yeah.
Mama could really, really cure sausage right. But it was so good. But we had the best hospital in the country. And we had the best school in the country. This is the most modern school and hospital in the United States in the 30s. And the saw that Jack Cash got killed on was not what they showed in the movie. It was a radial arm saw that had the cover removed. It had the cover on, it wouldn't have killed him. It was a great time of life. I couldn't have been raised in a greater place myself.
We went to church, of course, every Sunday. We would drive 5 miles in an iron-tired wagon behind a couple of mules and Dad would stop by the Church of Christ and let Mother out, and then get going over to the Baptist church. And there I would had to go to church, but I had a choice. I could go with Mom or Dad. And one of the things in the Baptist church, J.R. and his sister used to try to drag me down front to the altar, and it terrorized me.
Well, Mrs. Cash is the last person I ever seen shout in the Baptist church. Used to, the Hartshaw Baptist was like a holiness church. They'd done a lot of shouting. And she's the last person that ever shouted in the Baptist church that I know of.
What do you mean by shouting?
You get happy, and you get, I never did get that happy, I guess. But you, I don't know, jump up and down and holler, I don't know. But it was a great place to grow up. Our churches were good. We had 4 churches, I believe, and we went to all of them at one time or another. When we have a revival, we would all go. Like they'd have a Brush Arbor revival. It would last 2 weeks. Anymore, 3 days is a long time for revival. But then it'd go 2 weeks. And strong weeks, there'd be a lot of people every night. But it was great.
We had the Methodist church here, and the Baptist was over in that direction. Church of Christ was there, and the Holiness was out that way. But when the Holiness were having the meeting, that's when we used to go down there, because there was a lot of girls there.
A lot of girls. And, church girls, that's the kind to get.
We even made a trip over to Lepanto that we skipped school once. We didn't do things like that very often, but one time us 3 skipped school and went over to the school in Lepanto. We saw a lot of girls, but we were too bashful to talk to them.
Me and JR caught a bus one night to Mark Creek, which is 16, 17 miles away. And so we decided to go downtown and check it out, what was happening. So we went downtown, a couple of girls talked to for a while. We went back to catch the bus was gone. So we didn't have anything else to do. They had an all-night restaurant right on the corner of the main street. And we went to that all-night restaurant and stayed. About 9 o'clock at night, it started raining. It didn't rain, it poured all night. About 9 o'clock the next day, no one ever came by that we could get a ride with. We started walking to Dice. And so it was so wet, juiced, we'd get behind the biggest mud hole we could find when the car would go by and hitchhike, because we couldn't get any wetter. And we walked all the way to Lepanto. And from there, we got a ride to Dice. So that was a 10-mile walk, right? One Saturday morning. No, it was fun.
When we were in town here sometimes, at a movie or something, we would go home with each other without our parents even knowing where we went. And they wouldn't worry about us not showing up. Many a time I've slept, and I imagine J.E. has too, down at Gin on the Seed when we didn't want to go home.
Did.
We're going to go back to school the next day. No bath or anything.
No, it was J.R., me, and I believe Thomas McVeigh, I'm not positive, walked to Memphis one time. And we were left out early in the morning. Walked over to the highway, down the highway. Well, a wagon came along with mules and wagons. We hitched a ride on the back, so we sat on the back. He went about a mile and he had to turn off, so we got out and we walked to West Memphis. At West Memphis, there was a guy having his tire fixed. He was drunk, but he had his ruined tire and he was fixing it. Took about a half hour to fix it, so we waited. We got in the car with him, got in the middle of the Mississippi River Bridge. He had a wreck. So we got out and walked on to Roy Cash's house where we were going, and we got there about midnight. And we crawled in the window and stayed till the next day. But halfway there, on the curve, we were standing there, and Roy and his wife came this way, coming to see his dad. So we had to break into the house through the bathroom window. The next day they came home and they brought us home. So that's 50 mile almost walk. And we walked just about every bit of it. Took a long time, from early morning till midnight. That's what I only took.
We
But
really,
we walked anywhere. We didn't care.
we really had to walk everywhere. That was, I can't imagine the kids now having to walk 5 miles to go to a movie, and then not having money for everything they wanted. But we look back on those days as the good old days.
They were the good old days. I still enjoy looking back on them.
My best memories are of growing up here in Dice.
Now, I said we had a good hospital. Well, a friend of mine, Joe Roberts and J.R. Cash, went on the bridge down here, and the water was up. So they jumped in the water and they swam down about a quarter mile to close to the blue hole. Well, J.R. got snake bit underwater. A snake bit him. Well, they were just a little ways from the hospital, so he got to the hospital and he took care of him. But snakes don't usually bite underwater, but that one did.
I think the hardest I ever got slapped was at that hospital. I was getting a shot
Not
and
me.
I bit the doctor. And that they hit me harder than I ever been hit before.
I ain't gonna tell what happened to me, the doctor. But it was great. Any way you look at it.
I have answered so many of my questions here.
Do you want to go, since we're going to use this mic, do you want to go inside?
No.
Because of, okay.
Oh, yeah. I think it's okay. Do you think it's okay? The traffic?
What's the traffic and the wind?
I just like the setting here so much better. And I really don't have... Some of my questions were, what were your favorite things to do? Like swimming in the blue hole, spending the night at the cotton gin, riding the tractor. I had written all that. Y'all already talked about it.
Well, the blue hole was used as a baptism. You know, people baptized in the blue hole. On one side, you go over, jump in, the water's 14 foot deep. And it goes from there to the other side to zero. And no weeds, no grass, nothing grew on that bank. There were so many kids swimming in that blue hole. And but on the Sunday or Sunday after church, churches would come and then baptize in that hole. And they could walk out to 3 foot water, whatever they wanted, and baptize. And it was just a great river, but it was on a little curve, so that water kept that blue hole about 14 foot deep on one side. It's all you could do to dive to the bottom of it, if you could. It was hard.
We spent a lot of enjoyable hours there swimming.
A few people almost got drowned, but I don't think anyone ever did they?
We not that I know of.
Almost, though. I mean,
I heard that J.R. saved someone there that was drowning, but I don't know about it personally.
Elder Jeter did, I know. I was trying to save him, but I had to kick him loose. I couldn't get him, and he went and got him. So. But I mean, it's hard to get loose from a person drowning.
That was cheap. We didn't have to have any money to go. We could spend as much time there as we wanted to.
And a lot of the times it was a naked hole, too, as long as it wasn't Sunday. Sunday afternoon, when they was baptizing, was tough. We didn't have a bathing suit, you went naked.
What about, should I tell him to work on his truck later?
Yeah.
Revving that engine.
I'm about to let him know how I feel about it.
What about JR losing his hearing in the blue hole?
Never heard that.
I never heard about that.
Never heard that. You always heard me.
Okay. I don't know if I read that somewhere. So I know that y'all were close friends with JR. Can you talk about some of your adventures together? And y'all have already done this, but if there's something else that you can think of.
Well, like on Halloween, we would walk around and turn over bridges and pull mailboxes and throw them down. That was our extent of our Halloween devilment, because every house had a driveway and they had a wooden bridge across the ditch. And it was fun to turn that bridge over. So next morning somebody'd have to turn it back and put the mailbox back.
I never had anything to do with it
I know,
like that.
I know you wouldn't. AJ was a good boy. And I used to, one time, we'd run around with a guy. This was a store next door to us. And they had everything in the world. Furniture, clothes, everything. Groceries.
Might have to repeat that last part.
Dice is just bustling this afternoon.
It's always this way. You should have seen him when he was doing the Belgian cooking show.
Oh, I bet.
But anyhow, the store next door had everything. Groceries, furniture, clothes, the whole works. And one guy would wear a big coat, our friend. Not JR, not me, not AJ. But he would go in there and snitch candy. And we'd take it outside and we'd help him eat it. So I don't know if that's as bad. I don't know if they can still get us for that or not. But I don't know if that's the same as stealing, but we did help him eat it. You remember that?
No,
I do. I do. I'm not going to call his name, but he's not with us anymore.
So did y'all ever get in trouble?
No. Did you ever get in trouble?
No, I don't think any of
I
us
never,
were
no.
ever in trouble.
No, we didn't do anything to
I
get in
think
trouble.
about the worst thing that I know of that we did was when there was a ball game. It was just a very, very low charge to get in. But there was one guy named Harvey Clinton, and he was a class joker. And he never had money to come in, and we'd sneak around and open the door and let him in the back.
Yeah, he was a class clown, and he's gone too.
I remember one guy we had that had polio, and he would pick on his nose and make a sound like a guitar. And JR used to always joke about going outside and listen to Jesse Barnhill pick his nose.
No one ever knows what happened to Jesse Barnhill.
I understand that he had a band later, but I
too,
don't
but I
know it.
can't find it nowhere. Now I know JR was looking for him before he died. He called here at the store. I don't know if anybody knew what happened to him.
Well, what makes Dice so special or unique to you guys?
At that time, the people. The people were great people.
I agree with that. We were all poor, bottom of the heap people that we just had different values and everything than everybody else, and Dice helped develop those
Most
values.
of us came out of the hills, and the houses weren't the greatest in the hills. When we moved here, they were mansions. They were like 4 and 5 bedrooms, brand new houses, beautiful houses. They're not so pretty anymore. They were at that time.
We lived in houses that didn't have even screens or glass on the windows. They were covered with pick sites and toe sites. And seeing a house that everything was painted with fresh paint, new wood, it was just unbelievable.
Yes, it was. But it was like living in a mansion compared to the houses we lived in. And I was almost 4 when we moved here. We moved 2 farms down from JR on the farm. And so from the 4 years old until I think we lived there 2 years, then we would come to church together. You know, we'd ride the wagon and the mules and come to church together. Then we moved right down the road, so it was closer.
I grew up or going to a different school starting first and second grade. Furnace Dice had schools surrounding way out in the boondocks.
Then 4 or 5.
And I think the 3rd grade I came here, and that's when I got to know JR and JE better. Of course, I knew them from church before that.
Right. Yeah, we had the Dice school was built when I started school, but they still had the out schools. Dice was set up to be the 2nd largest city in Mississippi County, and it probably was at that time because we had the hospital. People came everywhere for this hospital.
The people really looked out for one another.
Yeah, they did.
If,
Everybody knew everybody. I mean, you passed, you said hi. Well, you still do.
if anybody had a problem, the neighbors would help them out with it.
Yeah. And we had 1 mule when we first came, and the Cashes had 1 mule. Dad and Mr. Cash were joint mules, to pull the logs out of the woods and pile them up to burn them. And so that's how they cleared their land.
Our cultivator was made for 2 horses, and we rigged it up so that one horse or one mule could pull it.
Had to. But that's all you had at that time. Then you got another mule later on. And dyes, I think, cost $1 million or thereabouts. The buildings in the city, everything was added to the price of the farms and the houses in Dice. So nothing was given to the people of Dice. It was not a gift or anything. It was a step up, but you paid for every bit of that step. And people think, you know, they gave us this land to move in to do it. They didn't. They helped us by selling us this land. They had a house and a big barn, chicken house, and an outhouse. And if you wanted a smokehouse, you build it, you know, later. And but that's what was on 2 acres of land that they cleared. They cleared enough land that you could plant a garden when you got here. That's what they did.
We'd be better off as a country if the people that were on welfare had to work like we did for what they got.
I believe our furnish, as they called it, which you paid back in the fall, was $9 a month. That was to feed the family, the horses, the hogs, you name it. That was to feed everything. But you could come buy a wagon load of groceries for $5, you know, and it was cheap. But we ate good. I never, ever went hungry.
I really enjoyed it when we came to town with a load of cotton and got the money for the seed. You got that in advance. We could come right to the store. And we'd buy a few slices of cheese, and they had a big barrel there with crackers in it. You'd go over and get your own crackers. But we'd eat cheese and crackers or bologna and crackers. But even as poor and as little as that was, I look back on it as good times.
A luxury, yeah. But we had to work all year for free, for nothing. We work on the farm. We helped the family. We were a family. All right. Come picking time, you got paid for that, so you got rich. You'd make $1, $1.50, $2 a day picking cotton. And if it was real good, sometimes you'd make a bit more than that, but I wasn't real good. And,
I hated that. I had to pick cotton on my knees. I couldn't stand up and bend over that row all day.
yeah, it was backbreaking. It really was. So you had to, we got knee pads later on, so you could crawl on your knees without bleeding, you know. But cotton burrs would cut your fingers, and they would bleed for picking cotton. You kept picking. Just the way things were at that time, but it was still a fun time, regardless.
How much cotton? How much cotton did you pick in a day?
How much cotton do you pick in a day?
I could pick probably 200 pounds on a good day.
That was me.
The best day I ever had was 156, and I started early with dew on the cotton and picked late.
200 was a real good day for me. Some people could pick 500 and 600 pounds, though. It was unbelievable.
They were fast. I would.
We had a guy on the farm that was working for us, and he was picking 400 or 500 pounds. But quick as he got paid, he took off and got drunk until he was out of money.
Yeah.
But that guy was unbelievable the way he picked cotton.
Yeah.
JR was an excellent cotton picker.
Yes,
He
I
would
was.
get 300.
See, AJ and I played sports. Our parents believed in school activities. And so JR didn't play sports. So I'm sure he worked the fields a little more than we did, because afternoon we'd be playing football or basketball, or we'd be in practice.
When I was in the 10th grade, I played football. Coach Parks was our coach. And I had to walk home, and we lived 5 miles here after football practice. I would hang around uptown trying to find a ride and waiting, and nobody come along, and it'd get dark, and I was scared to death. walk at night. And I'd run all the way home.
That's
It was
right.
5 miles.
Right.
The next year I played, the coach drove me home.
You were better that year.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were better. I never was real good. I was there. I was there practicing.
Well, what do you envision for Dice's future?
Well,
Hold on a second.
Round and round.
I get my future. I knew from the time I was young until I left was not going to be farming. It was out of the question for me to farm. So when I was 18, I left and went to Michigan and went to work with an asphalt company, and that's all I ever did, was with an asphalt company. I ran a road grader basically all my life.
I left school after the 11th grade and joined the Army. And the reason I left is I saw how hard my father worked and what little he had and everything, and I knew that that was not for me.
Right.
So I became a professional soldier.
And what about JR? I know what he did, but how was that leaving?
Well,
Did y'all leave at
he
the same time?
graduated, and I don't know just how much longer. He went to Pontiac, Michigan, to go to work in the factory. He went to work in the factory. He worked about 2 weeks, and that wasn't for him. He left and came home, and then joined the Air Force. And
While he was in the Air Force, I was stationed in England in the Army, and I went to school for signal for equipment radio repair in Ansbach, Germany, and he came while he was in the Air Force and spent the weekend with me. And that was one of the few times I saw him after I had left school.
I know when he was in Germany, Tommy Cash, his brother was in Germany, and he was a disc jockey for the Army. And I know JR went on his show, and the first words he said is, "Mama wants you to write." That's exactly what he said. JR had a quick, solid humor, and I have a lot of that myself. Sometimes I'll tell a joke and you can't know it till you start home. You tell jokes good?
I've noticed that when people don't laugh.
I
until
noticed,
you leave.
I noticed that. And they're proud I leave.
Any jokes that y'all remember that you want to tell?
No, not. No.
It just
I
has
don't-
to be right off the cuff.
I don't think so. You- not the ones I heard.
Okay, well, yeah. Is there anything else that y'all would like to add?
You know anything you'd like to add?
And look, when his brother, when he got killed, JR was terribly saddened over that. And I think part of the problem is that this movie about JR was things that he had imagined that he had something to do with Jack getting killed. But in the movie indicated that Mr. Cash was down on JR and blamed him for it and everything, but I never seen any evidence of that.
They portrayed him so mean, and he was not. My dad, his dad, and Mr. Cash were strict. They all worked that time. And I mean, what they said went.
Children
And,
mind, and they used
right.
enough force or whatever they had to use to make the children mind, is which what we should do today.
Ain't that the truth? And, no, it's. I know Mr. Cash one time came over to the restaurant, and Mrs. Woods on a Sunday morning after church, and he went in and picked up a Sunday paper, and he told Mrs. Woods, said, "I'll pay you later. I don't have any change." She said, "Well, I can cash it 20 or 10 or a 5. He just laid the paper back down and walked out. He loved to read the paper. And he always did.
It's funny, I started off in the Army as a radio operator, and JR, when he went in the Air Force, he was a radio operator also. He was an intercept operator. I was a kind of radio operator. I was helping with observations over for planes flying in enemy aircraft and that sort of thing. But it's funny that both of us turned out in the same field in the service.
They wasn't lucky enough to get me.
Well, it's funny. He went to Michigan,
Yeah.
and he also joined the Army, in the military. So.
Right. At 18, I stayed 42 years. Mother was here, so I came back here. She's gone now, and I'm still here.
Mother lived to be 99, but poor old Dad had a stroke when he was 53 and died at 56.
Well, lifespan back then wasn't all that great.
No.
It's got a lot better. Medicine has come so far in our lifetime. Can't believe it. In fact, all of it has come in our lifetime. A lot of home remedies before that period of time. Wonder if the guy on the other end can hear him.
He don't need a phone, that's for sure.
I think they can hear him clear away in West Memphis.
All right. Well, that's my list of questions for you guys. I think that's really good. We just wanted to we wanted to find out what y'all thought visitors would like to know about growing up with being here in Dice and knowing JR before he was Johnny Cash. And
That's what I said in an interview one time, and it's in the paper. I had a whole page. It says, it's funny to be famous because knowing somebody. And it is, you know, just because you know somebody, you're known actually worldwide on the computer. And it's just amazing, really, just to know somebody. But I'm proud I knew him. I was proud of him all my life. And I always did think that he was going to make a singer when he grew up, because that's what he wanted to do.
He did sing in school some. When we had an assembly, when they would make the announcements and that sort of thing in the school, he used to sing, and he didn't sing any country music at that time.
They wouldn't let him.
He sang, the best I remember was Joyce Kilmer's Trees, and that was one of his songs.
And the Whiff and Poof song was the
Yeah.
other one. That's the two they let him sing.
When I go anywhere and people see the tag on my car that says Dice, they all know where Dice is. They come over and ask me about the tag.
But it is. It's something to know somebody that famous. It really is. Because I think he was the most famous person ever in country music. And not me, but just my opinion. Because he's known worldwide. In 1969, he was known as the most known person in the world. And in 1969, when 5 albums were sold, one of them was his. That includes the Beatles, Elvis, everybody else that sang. 1 out of every 5 he sold. That's the record. So I think that's great. And the pills, it wasn't dope as such. It was uppers and downers. Benzodrine, dexedrine, sleeping pills. Now that's what JR got. Now he did drink a bit, but and that worsened it all. But that was only like a 7 or 8 year period. It wasn't a stretch of his life. And getting back to Jack Cash, when he died, I was a pallbearer. The Boy Scouts were pallbearers, and so that's the first time in my life that I was ever a pallbearer.
When JR grew up and became famous and everything, when you saw him, he was still the same person.
He was J.R. Cash. I don't care where you seen him
He
or
never
when
had
or any place.
Any airs
He
or
was J.R.
anything.
Cash. And he never dwelled on Jack Cash dying in his growing up years with being an educator.
Hold on a second.
Shut up.
I was stationed in Colorado after returning back from Germany. It was shortly after I got married in 1960. And JR came to town to do a show. He'd just returned from Korea, I believe it was, doing shows for the military. And he and June were there. That's the first time I had met her. they weren't married yet, and my wife and I got to visit with them a lot then, and that was really nice.
But every time that I ever seen JR, he came to Michigan a lot in his first few years, and I'd go just about every Saturday night because that one country show up there loved him, and they'd bring him back sometimes every week, sometimes every 2 weeks, and but it was just an enjoyable time. And, Luther and Carl, not Carl, Luther and guitar player. I mean, the bass player, Marshall Grant, and they were great at that time. Later on, Marshall wasn't so great. Who knows?
So he never put on airs. He didn't act like he didn't know y'all. He always knew you.
Never in his life did that I ever seen him put on airs, and I never heard only a couple of things about him that was bad. Period. And during his drug period, W.S. Marshall told me that he only couldn't get on stage 3 times. He could be stoned out of his head and get on stage and never miss a lick. You couldn't tell he was drinking, had a pill in him or anything. He was that kind of a professional. Never missed a lick.
After he got out of the Air Force, he moved to Memphis and lived on Tutwiler, and I used to visit with him and Vivian back in those days, and this was before he had really got into music.
I liked her.
Yeah, I did too.
She was sweet.
Yeah, she was. She was real sweet. That's the only time I ever seen Roseanne. She was about that long. And JR had just made Hey Porter and Cry, Cry, Cry. So I called him and I went over there. And he was going back and forth on the radio. His song had just come out and they were playing it a lot. And he said, I don't want to hear the song. I want to hear what they say about me. That's what he was looking for, what they were saying about him, good or bad. And but I like Vivian really well. That's the only time I've ever seen Roseanne. Now the other kids, John Carter and the girls, they are some of the most friendly people you ever seen, and common people. They were raised common because June and JR were common people, and that's how they raised their kids.
I exchanged emails with them, and Tommy, I talked to him every now and then, but I really hadn't spent a lot of time with him.
No, just I went down to Mississippi. All the girls were there, and John Carter came here, stayed 3-4 days, so we got to be with him a little bit. But he's as common as you are. I mean, you're not very common. But yeah, he's a real common person. And he'll talk to you. I don't know how he's out on the road. Here, he was just great. He's supposed to wrote a book that his dad started, but it hadn't been published yet that I know of.
Yeah, it's nice whenever you know someone and then to see that they haven't changed for the worse.
And the people you meet by knowing them, it's outrageous. And it is by the people you meet. And George Jones I met years ago, and when he had his hair, and that song he'd sang so much was out, White Lightning. It was out. And that's the only time I ever met him.
That's funny, the group that I hang around with, if we're out somewhere or something and somebody new comes around, they always say, he knows JR, Johnny Cash.
Yeah, I got a daughter-in-law says, I know somebody that knows somebody.
Did Johnny ever come back to Dice?
He visited quite a bit in his younger days. And every time he'd come, he'd see Mama or Daddy, or he'd stop by the house. And I was near there.
Oh, wait.
Well,
Hang on.
You can go ahead.
JR gave money for the school's science equipment in it, I think. That was actually, I had left Dice.
That's in '66, I believe. And but no, he would come back to Dice, and well, Daddy's in the first movie he ever made, a documentary type movie, and But every time he came, he'd stop by Mom and Daddy's, and usually Mom was home if Daddy wasn't.
He never forgot where he came from.
No.
After they sold their farm and my dad sold their farm, they moved to a place here in Dice, and their properties backed up to one another. And when Dad became sick and couldn't work anymore, Miss Cash was going around from door to door selling papers, magazine things, and she used to collect money from the people and give them to my mother. They were good people.
Yeah, I like Mr. and Miss Cash, but she just wasn't kid friendly.
That's sweet. Well, this has been fun.
Yeah, it is. Can we have a tape of the whole thing?
I don't know why that would be a problem. That'd be
Okay.
great.
Appreciate it.
I'd
Yeah,
like to have one
definitely.
of the whole interview.
Sure.
See how bad
We
I
have
am.
to transfer
See,
them.
I've got a lot of I've interviewed a lot, but never the whole interview.
Yeah.
They
Well,
give you 20
And Johnny
seconds.
Cash's America, I wanted my whole interview on that, but they didn't do it.
I think his wife had something to do with that. She don't want to have to watch him.
Probably. Because that's all I'd watch all day. Is.
well, you should be more interested in what I'm saying about you.
What?
No, like JR was worried about.
But it's just around the corner.
Taste of it. Boy, girl. You got some kind of love, okay? My clothes are there, fresh, so I feel like I'm looking for that.
Yeah.
Well, most of them old ladies come out here. Me. Oh, y'all come on. Old trucker guy giving you seen one of them?
No.
Why, God, you ain't never seen an old truck?
Yes.
This is one of our grandsons, he ain't never come back.
Now, where'd you get that from?
His grandson.
No, somebody else got to it. I don't know.
That's his one.
Three bedroom, what the hell is it? I don't even know what's in there. Maybe phosphorus. Well, that's got there, something like that. Yes, this, oh, you can't find it. Another window where they put the door, and this right here where the door was, where that board's unpainted, and there's two big windows in here. And this is the door going in the dining room. I found that out by Johnny Cash.
Okay.
I knew it was a door, but see, I changed that. I'll put that back. Oh, they are. They won't do it.
Yeah.
And this right here, see, this was where the stove was at. See right there, that's the old food.
So this is when
The
they
living
walked in,
room.
this was the living room.
Right. See, with old food right here, and this was pantry here where they kept the fruit. When they can in the winter time, you know.
Okay.
And I didn't know what all that was, but she told me when she was here. So there was the one window back here, and I put this in there.
Wait, that's the,
That's the Worcester.
that's not the original one?
No, but they crossed the water, so it didn't matter. They made the hand go on. But she said it looked just like the one in the hand, but I said that ain't yours.
No.
I
It
don't
looks
mind.
old though.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
They used to.
No.
But they had a pantry right there. It went up. See, it's been lowered a foot. It went on up and put the fruit in there in the can jar and the stove and kept it warm in the winter. I put the motor in there before it died. This had lowered it. After that, the big flue going up through there for the wood stove. And you know them wood stoves are high. Yeah, I found 3 units in Missouri. You know what the one piece was?
What?
Over $1,000 a piece. I said, I ain't gonna buy one.
Wow. That's expensive.
For a wood stove.
Wow.
See, it had a wood stove in here, and this just regular wood. And this has always been a dining room right here, just like it is now.
Okay.
See, I had. You good? He said, "Now Johnny's brother laid right there dead. That woman, Mississippi, and Johnny's sister just left. She told me never brought out. I let him talk while I said, "Slade, you can't believe what I say about myself." I told him, tell me. I put it all down. I said it away. Put it in paper. And it's all wrong. But people shouldn't talk it, don't know that. You know what I mean?
Exactly. You don't know